Okay, so you guys know we managed to get behind on our fall sowing simply because we had some issues with our first and second crop becoming leggy as we started the seeds. So this time, instead of using the peat pellets for the cauliflower, we are just using a soil mix, an organic soil mix by Kellogg brand, and I literally just sprinkled several seeds in each cup. And they're doing great. I'm so proud of them. I did not put holes in the bottom, and that may seem counterintuitive, but the way that I'm watering is overhead with a light mist once or twice a day, depending on how hot it is. And this is the Purple of Sicily cauliflower from Baker Creek, and it is doing absolutely great. Stay tuned. So you saw the other day on one of our other videos that I did plant the dwarf Siberian kale. It has had spotty germination, to say the least. And so we're going to go back and fill in that row with more, with the remaining of this packet. But I'm also going to interplant with the Trunducha. Oh, that's not right. Trunchuta. Wow, I transposed that D. I'm going to go back and interplant with the Trunchuta kale and see if between the two we can get at least one full row of flat leaf kale. Okay, so if you didn't know, collards, and this was brought to my attention by Rachel over at Hawkins Homestead Farm. She told me that collards generally have a low germination rate, which I had not paid attention to. Now, collards are not my favorite green. Kale is. Kale, mustards, then collards. So I was like, oh, for real? Well, no wonder I have such a hard time. I never pay attention to these numbers. But I think she said that the average germination rate is around 78 to 80 something percent. Don't quote me on that. Sorry, Rachel, if I misquoted you. But I wanted to plant direct sow my collards since we did get behind on everything. And then I noticed that my favorite collard, which is this Alabama Blue, has a really good germination, which maybe that's why it's my favorite. I don't know. Maybe it's the only one I was able to grow very well, so I just gravitated to it. So 94% versus 85% on this green glaze versus 64% on this White Mountain cabbage collard. So I'm going to plant all of these on what was previously our lettuce row. We just pulled the remaining of the lettuce. It was starting to go to seed, so the rabbits are partaking of that blessing. We are going to take advantage of the row and plant collards, a mix of collards down this entire row. I think it'll be quite beautiful just watching them all grow up together. And I'm talking about, let's see if I can, this row right here. We pulled up our white barrier that will reflect the heat because we are getting cooler nights, and so we'll just hold on to that for the summer when we're planting lettuce again, and we'll pull that back out. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get these collards planted. Oh, and the row beside it over there is where I planted or replanted that kale, the Siberian kale, and the Trunchuta. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. So I have 2 packs of the Alabama Blue, and I think what I'm going to do is just do a portion of this row at the beginning on both sides of the drip tape with just the Alabama Blue, and then I'm going to take these seeds and these 3 packets here, and this is an obscenely amount of, this is not the normal amount of seeds you would sow, but because of the low germination rate and because I'm direct seeding, I'm being overly cautious. I just don't have time to keep replanting and replanting. I need for this stuff to grow. So I'm gonna way overplant. So I'm gonna mix all 3 of these together. So the back part of the row will be all mixed up, and the front will just be the Alabama blue. If you've seen our Alabama blue, I wonder if I can find a picture and put in the video. They are just gorgeous. We didn't grow them last year, but we grew them the year before, and oh my gosh, I just love them so much. Okay, let me get to work. And this is how our cauliflower is doing. They just took off in the last couple of weeks and just poof. We did go ahead and fertilize everything with fish emulsion, and they always respond very nicely to that. So at about a month is when we like to put these into the ground. And oh my goodness, let me look back at my notes right quick and see when these. So these were planted on the 6th, and they started coming up on the 10th. So November 10th, most of them would be around a month old. So that's around the time that I will start going through, and the larger ones will start setting out. So about 4 to 6 weeks is where it needs to be generally to have a good size, healthy plant that can endure the weather and stuff like that. So these guys here are looking pretty good. There's probably about a good 10 that would be pretty sufficient right now, but we're going to go ahead and wait till at least the 10th to get those set out, and that gives me time to go ahead and plan out space for these guys to go. Now that celery over there is it is far older, and celery has a tendency to take forever to germinate, and then it can be kind of slow about starting to grow, but once it starts, it is boom, 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 and we're in the boom, boom, boom stage, so I've got to find a spot for it pretty quickly. So there's lots to get done. A lot of people take fall off, and I completely respect that and understand it even. But for us, we don't, and there's so much to always do. Even when we're at our coldest months, which for us is between late January, early February is usually when it's the coldest here in Zone 8, Lower Alabama. But even at that point, we're planning and preparing for spring, so even then there's not a lot of resting going on, and I'm fine with that. It keeps me in a good routine, and I don't have to dust off the frost, so to speak, coming out of winter into spring. I'm already in a good routine, and it's just like going to another season. We do cut back on as much planting, like we're planting a variety of different things, a lot of variety, but not as much of it. We find that even though we like to have a lot of homegrown produce season after season, year round, but for some reason in our neck of the woods, people have become acclimated to generally having those things in the spring and in the summer. And so in the winter months, although there is lots that we're growing and there's lots that we're harvesting, we don't get as many sales with the community. And again, that is perfectly fine. So we're not growing as much. We're just growing for our family, usually primarily in the fall to winter time. So that's where we are. This has been our fall planting, and please stay tuned for more. This is Sheena. Have a good one.